welcome back to VALORANT Challengers North America Stage 1, our final day here of Week 4. The season's been chugging along, and for some of our teams, they have to be thinking about the bigger things, relegation stuff in mind. For others, just how many wins you could be racking up. Can't wait to dive into today's action. And of course, with that, I have two wonderful analysts, casters here with me. Do it all. You guys, you're the analysts, you're the casters. You guys are amazing. We have Uber, we have Gompers. Gompers, you got the new place too. How are you feeling? It'll be a good day. Golfers, apparently you've been muted the VMix the whole time. Too long didn't read about that one. She said she was getting a buff, which is just the most ironic thing with that.
I think it's more embarrassing that I said all that and nobody heard it. So now I'm just,
No, we heard it. That's what we heard.
Yeah, we heard it. That's the important thing. Golfers, I'll let you take a breath. Uber, how are you feeling today on this fine Friday?
Yeah, good. I mean, we're in a really interesting position here. Like, looking at Group A and B, we'll get a chance to talk about them in a moment. We're at a real inflection point now where we're starting to look at some teams who are destined for relegation. And we're also trying to figure out, like, how the middle of the pack in both Group A and B are supposed to shake out. Because there's a ton of questions that we haven't had answered. Like, are Winthrop able to play up to their opposition? Are Core the real deal after an absolute banger of a game against YFP? I'm kind of stoked to see the evolution of those stories a bit further. I'm hankering for some Valorant here, I'll be honest.
Well, then let's start diving in and talking about today and look at the schedule and what the whole week has shown. If you're looking for, all of the Valorant, I regret to inform you that the week schedule so far, well, it's kind of been 2-0s across the board. I mean, it's still really interesting because there is still quite a big fight here between our middling teams. But the 2-0s, I mean, we're just not getting the map 3s. We're running to end things early. We'll have to see if today's series offers anything different here because it's M80 versus Winthrop to start things off. But I definitely have my eyes on our final series, the Core versus Thinking Men.
Yeah, I think the first series, and this is so unfortunate for Winthrop because it's not like this is a bad team when you're looking at Winthrop. It's just the unfortunate event of M80's just a good team. And so when you're kind of putting those two together, it really does counter itself because M80 have been dominating throughout their run within Challengers. So it is pretty difficult to say whether or not that will even go to a third map. I think 2-0 possibly would be the thing, but like you said, that second game is where the sweet spot is. Are we making a change today in this week's Challengers? I honestly hope so.
I mean, yeah, I think the M80 game is interesting because they're a team that does not give any mercy to opponents that don't have really well-drilled protocols. They dominated Glazers, especially on Icebox, right? Which we know is a great M80 map. They look really strong in it. Don't expect to see it today because I'm pretty sure you're trying to ban this away from them. But there were like a couple small gaps in mollies and maybe timings weren't quite there on some of these executes. And M80 punished these, especially Xander. He just walked through and around some of these like Viper mollies getting thrown down. And he played from an angle that people assume is covered. He'd find 3 kills over and over again. He basically just farmed the Glazers. So this is a team that you have to bring your A game. You had to be pretty close to perfect here to threaten to unseat these guys. Multiple veterans. This team have been gelling beautifully. BCJ is filthy as a site anchor on so many of these maps here. Any individual here can pop off, and they have, at separate times over these last few series.
Yeah, when we're talking about the race of the teams that are in the middle of the pack, M80 isn't in that conversation. They're in a different conversation of which is the best team in the league here. And there's definitely a lot of case that this could be it. And there was one person you talked about in that field, which is Xander. And I want to talk a little bit more about Xander because, I mean, Xander has been a very... Each of these players has been so strong. But I want to look back here at week 3, Gompers, because Xander was a stepping up big time.
Xander is always stepping up. And the thing I really like about Xander and his performance is not only is he playing to that controller role to a T, obviously creating the space that's needed, making the team feel comfortable pushing it onto sites, but it's also that extra concept where Xander is just cracked. And that's what I really like. It's being able to assist, but also kind of just clearing when it comes to pushing onto site with the duelist and or just making sure mid is under locks. And that's what Xander is, just a complete demon on the site.
I mean, this is the kind of guy that when you let him lurk or go to work on like a map like Lotus, for example, he is very often pulling people into rotations or just winning 1v2s, playing solo a lot of the time. And then when he's able to play from inside the rest of his team's protocols, he fits the bill perfectly. This guy's really nasty and a huge addition to M80, and the kind of guy that's going to pounce on you if you make one misstep. Is definitely a player we're looking out for today as well. That, I mean, ADR is pretty nuts. He farmed on Icebox pretty badly. He was like 14-3 at some point, on defense. So, he was living it up.
He definitely was. And when you're up against a player that if you make any misstep, they're going to jump all over you, that is tough. And talking a bit about this Winthrop University roster going into today's matchup, I think there's a lot to be scared of here when they're posing, but also they do have some firepower on this team. And if there's anything, even with all the 2-0s that we've seen so far in Challengers, is you can't quite count out anybody because these teams, Gomps, they're definitely vying and trying and pushing their best to try and take these Titans down.
They are, and it was evident against the game that they played in Turtle Troop, obviously evident in their performance before. I know that it was a 2-0 sweep across the board this week. For everyone involved, like everyone's having a pretty hard time, but I think when it comes down to Winthrop, it's just a game of resolve for them. It's a game of trying to understand, how far can they push themselves. And they said that before. They know they're not the favorited team. They know they're not the team that everyone's expecting to win, but they themselves have an understanding that, okay, despite that, we're going to play a hell of a game. And honestly, we know what we have to show for it.
The resilience through the losses and the improvements are the big things that I'm looking out for here, especially with week 4. They definitely have had a lot of time together here. And there has been, when we're looking back at these results, the fact that they're getting a win against a team like Turtle Troop, I mean, they took it close against SAD here. There definitely is potential in the squad, Uber.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the result I think is well worth looking at is that 2-0 against Turtle Troop. That is significant. We just saw Turtle Troop take TSM to task in a 2-0 this week earlier on. In that game, I think there was like a sunset map where Turtle Troop was still rolling out the deadlock composition. And I don't really think the wheels were exactly well greased there. But in general, like Winthrop had a very, very good game. And that wasn't a game where like Infiltrator just carried. It was like the double initiator setup they have with the Breach and the Fade that was really, really effective. And that SAD series was mega close. There was a overtime on Lotus. Really, really compelling stuff to watch. I do think like Icebox and Breeze for this team are weaker maps. And they're also maps where we see like stranger picks. I think like Moobs at times has played the Rainer on Breeze and also the Yoru. And, really trying to find a way to get that pick integrated into the overall game plan of Winthrop is going to be really important because Infiltrator has a tendency to play up to his opponents and play up to that quality opposition. What better opportunity than this?
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about Infiltrator as well, because when we're looking back through this history that Winthrop University has had, specifically when you're looking at their win-loss record, I think it's really, really easy to look at a player's stats and just kind of ignore that part and just go, oh, okay, well, these are okay. But Uber, this is stats that have been put up in face of these losses that Winthrop University has been showing as well. This doesn't really speak to some of this impact that he's had out here on the field. No,
I mean, in losing maps, and there have been a lot of them, you can see that Infiltrator is actually, trading positive in that sort of first kill, first death ratio. Like, that first blood success rate, 53% is pretty significant. And he's definitely someone that, this Winthrop team leans on heavily in that regard. So you want to keep looking out for Infiltrator to create space early. And sometimes it's more than just making space and getting traded out. He'll really look to try and go above and beyond. And he's someone that really going to have to make use of. You're dealing with a team in M80 that, have like I suppose like a rotating duelist role. Sometimes it's Nismo, sometimes it's Koala Noob. The strength of M80, I think, is more away from that individual flashy play in the duelist spot here. Infiltrator definitely brings that though. So expect to see a clash of styles here, as we know that M80 in the macro sense are very, very strong. Winthrop have a chance to, to derive a advantage here on the micro level for sure.
I have to agree too. And I think a lot of it is also like just the element of surprise that Winthrop tend to have. I feel like this is a very like, this is a team that has a lot of the unexpected with them, especially since, again, it's not really typical for a collegiate team to come into an environment like Challengers. It is pretty difficult, and the fact that they have made it, the fact that they are kind of putting that forth there, I think Infiltrator and the playstyle that they do put forward, you know, again, Winthrop very, very aggressive. Winthrop love to put in these plays, the double duelist, right? Like, you can see that they don't care about anybody's feelings, and all they're going to do is just run it down and probably make you cry at the end of the day. I'm not going to lie. And I like that. I think it is surprising.
Elements of surprise can only take you so far, though. So heading into our map picks and bans for this series, I think where we're going to be kicking things off is the biggest surprise to me. Not the fact that Winthrop University has picked this up here, Uber, but the fact that we haven't actually seen this from M80. It's not their insta ban. It's not their first ban. It's never really been the go-to.
No, you're right. It just hasn't come up in a lot of these series because they usually get to play either Breeze or Icebox, right? Which are two maps which they've been really strong on. Winthrop banned both of those, and that's fair enough because these teams' sort of map pools line up such that those are far and beyond Winthrop's worst maps. I remember the sad Esports versus Winthrop game on Icebox, and it was tragic. There was nothing going on there. And I think that Breeze, I think they need to cook a little bit more on how to, again, get like that second duelist involved, or, you know, really get that Yoru popping off if that's where they're going to go. So M80 here with the bind and split ban, fair enough. You know, their pick obviously being Lotus, which has been really good for them. And that's, again, where I'm going to be looking for Xander to be making a lot of those lurk-based plays here. Sunset, I mean, there's tape on Winthrop. M80 know that they're going to be walking into like a breach fade setup here. I don't really know what to expect. I probably expect this team to play something that verges a little bit more on the standard side on Sunset. We've seen obviously a few teams roll out, like Core, for example. They're playing like a Sage on that map. We've seen the Deadlock from Turtle Troop, but they've recently done away with that. So a few teams are still innovating on Sunset. And I'm curious to see if it's not an insta ban here for M80, what they are working with.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of questions that are kind of answered on that one. I'm really excited for that. Whereas at least we have a known quantity over on the side of Winthrop University, Gomps. We know that there is a couple of maps they get kind of quirky with it. You know, we get to see a Yoru, we get to see a Reyna, much to Uber's dismay. But it does look like this map pool does tend to be a little bit more on the atypical side here. So not necessarily that surprise factor that you might expect coming up from Winthrop.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it. And I think they have been kind of dying that down a little bit. I know we did get to see a couple Reynas from time to time, which it was controversial to say the least. But I think that's just them. And I don't think it is a bad idea under the circumstances. They do kind of queue into the Reyna. But I do think if they are doing that, there needs to be that element that really uplifts moves in a position like that. So it is it's risky. I'm honestly kind of shaking a little bit trying to comprehend what they're going to be picking when it comes down to that first map of Sunset, because Sunset it's a pretty awkward map if you have kind of like that double duelist composition, in my opinion, which I know they really like to push for on occasion.
I hope they don't play that. I really, again, I'm happy to see double. I think we saw the double initiator from Turtle Troop on that map. It was really nice because you're in a position on Sunset so often now that you have to decide as a defender between trying to play on site and deal with a flood of util potentially, especially against double initiator, or play retake, right?
Yeah.
And if you do have enough of that flash util, especially if you have a Gecko, for example, you can give up the site entirely. You can actually stack a site at the start of the round, gamble there, and if it doesn't pay off, you don't care if you have to play full retake at a different site if you have the Turtle Troop based composition. So a lot of the discussion right now about Sunset is whether or not you're a double initiator or double controller. Double duelist, you can leave that at home for now. I just don't think that makes any sense.
I don't think you like fun is kind of what I'm hearing here. You're just kind of the hater on the fun aspect.
Am I old now? Is that what it is?
Is that the sign?
I don't know. No, well, it's not even that so much. I have fun watching a poor team comp get crushed 13-4. That's actually I find that enjoyable, but more in I'm a spectator in the gladiatorial arena, and blood and viscera is just flying up into my face as the pack of lions tear apart the hapless would-be warriors. So. Yes, it is entertaining. But I like clean Valorant, if that makes sense.
So you're telling me you're an Ascent watcher enjoyer?
Good Ascent play, sure. But I mean, I get it. It's like, again, a lot of the same comps. If M80 on that map, by the way, are going to play the comp. They're going to do the thing. But again, I think great server play on that map is kind of sick. Also, teams just getting rolled by like tiles crunches and Odin play is a bit of fun. So there's something there. Trust me, guys, don't get too jaded, all right? There has never been a better time to be an Ascent watcher than right now.
All right, well, we're not talking about Ascent. We'll have to see if we get to a map 3 before we go back to talking about Ascent. But we got to talk about Sunset. We got to talk about the agent composition. So I'm going to send you two off, and I'll see you later.
Okay, yeah, let's jump into this one. Let's see what we're cooking with. We're looking for... Yeah, we're looking for M8 to have something a little bit special, and they have the double initiative. They actually have this KO Gecko composition gompers, so this is what we saw from Turtle Troop, and it really is fantastic with those retakes, and you can get a lot of info off this KO. Winthrop have the setup that we kind of expected to see from them. It's the Fade and the Breach, double initiator on both sides.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like Nasi's going to do a good job on that Breach. I know the composition they tend to do for Winthrop is Nasi is kind of like the ringleader. So with that being said, they're going to have to really rely on that Breach to do a lot of the work to kind of just counter the plays that you talked about that we're probably going to see from the KO gaining that first-hand ground of trying to really shut down this team in the util that's going to be put forth. So, I mean, difficulty, hopefully Jerk doesn't really get caught, in situations where it might be dire. Because if they're pushing the B side, Jerk's the only one watching. I mean, that's a free site to take. So definitely all about the timing, all about the positioning here. M80, I mean, listen, strong team. So it's up to Winthrop to really show that they can do something about it.
Yeah, 4 different initiators as well, which is kind of wild, right? I like that the Fade here gives you the ability, especially to scout elbow out early in the round and potentially shut down like stack plays there, give yourself a little bit of info going forward. And also, you can do a lot with the middle part of the map. And I see ping straight up the middle here. I think they're just going to run it up.
Where are you? Might just be so, but it's a nice lyric to actually try to see what clear they're going to get down towards mid. And you can see ping's already ranging around, so they hear that. They know the noise is there, and they're still going to keep Nitro kind of sitting down, trying to wait and maybe get that first-hand pick.
Yeah, no need to hold the side here. Nitro had a good angle. He knew they were coming in through market. Bot line, no, might be an issue. He's still able to find a headshot there. 2 for Nitro already, the veteran. Coming alive in his pistol. Remember that spike? Ain't even nearly planted yet. I think a wingman also being sent to clear Boba. Nasi's going to put this down, and a paranoia might slow M80 up, but they're going for it here. Dizzy thrown out. Flashpoint also being deployed now as Gucci inside the smoke. And hear a lot of this action, but flubs it on the shot. And Nasi has to try and clean it up here. The 1 versus 2, and won't be enough.
Man, and that's difficult because a lot of the unfortunate part there, you're playing in this pistol round. You want to start off with that first kind of just lead to put yourself in the lead, but it seemed like there Nasi had so much util to use. All they did was maybe get that Lear out, try to see what was going on and whatnot, and even then, right, having that information down in mid, they didn't use all of that Breach util that they had stacked on Nasi. Nasi kind of used that for themselves, and obviously didn't work out. M80 first round on the board, so you got to force yourself to kind of save up here.
It feels a bit rough, right? Nasi gets a good fault line, like he predicts that Nitro was going to fall back into Boba. It's with the fault line. Nitro still finds 2 kills, and there's like enough time for M80 to react to that. So Outlaw, of course, will be in play here. We'll probably see that, trend towards this extremity here at B main. Going to get some action here in just a moment. Fault line. Nitro forced away. Paranoia going to be followed up on him by Xander. 1 is good. Moves out to make the swing there with the Sheriff and get another Cyber Cage. Will cover Nitro's retreat. Nasi still wants to step up and challenge, but Koala Noob has the angle that you would dream of from the back side.
Yeah, rushing into end things quickly. If not quickly, rushing in as a pack to see if they can get one. But, I mean, regardless of that, M80 already starting off in that 2-0. And it was a valiant effort. I mean, Moves getting a pretty good number there, taken in their first. But regardless of that, it's a dire situation. Already giving M80 a position for BCJ to really take in the Outlaw. I don't like the Outlaw in the hands of BCJ. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like that has so much impact. That can just deprive Winthrop of a possible win condition.
Yeah, he's just going to throw the Dizzy up at the start of the round here. So we'll get that level of info. Fade is in mid, not over at A, and you can't be affording that. The angle being held, but Nismo just gets to peek and find the kill. That's a backbreaker already.
I'm still watching regardless, but that's going to be a nice fault line to try to take out Nismo out of place. They don't push that. It's interesting enough, but still whiffing the shot. Nismo goes down. And still Winthrop University trying to find that space down in mid.
Nismo is able to repost himself back on the angle. I mean, you have both your initiators at A. And obviously the Gecko just gets to keep throwing that dizzy out. So Nismo had a good crack at that one. I like the slower approach from Winthrop over towards A. And now we'll get ahead into B lobby where there is a Cypher Cam in wait.
Yeah, nice thing about this is that they still have some of that util down in B, but a big rotation that was just fed over towards A on the side of an M80. And so much util to still use on the side of Nasi. I mean, by the time they rotate down there and they want to decide on whether or not they want to push, Nasi might have that fault line
30 seconds.
kind of clock back up again, but then again, 30 seconds. Actually, no, timer revoked. Spike down. So this is up to BCJ to take that first pick. Quite possibly so.
Moves there again. The C's comes out. Looks like Xander is caught in that for the time being. Dizzy coming in from market moves. Forced off the angle. BCJ with the mosh pit kill. Jerk gonna back away. Cyber Cage thrown up here. Nasi, though, is forced to play on the site for now. Another cage available for Jerk if needed, but Nasi just has to take this contact, and he handles it absolutely beautifully. Four for Nasi. And Winthrop will get back into this.
I'm done.
Beautiful. And not only that, all now on the board. So regardless, 2-1, you'd think M80 could run away with this in terms of what the skill level is. Okay, M80, super strong team. They're going to roll with this. But I mean, unless they try to find a way to counter this ultimate that's about to come in from Nasi, they're going to use this. There's absolutely no way that they won't. I mean, possibly not, because there is kind of like a weird half-buy going on for M80 here. So I mean, I do feel like they're in a pretty strong position to secure themselves this win. The A site there, 3 players on the side of M80. And the only thing really blockading that is this one way.
Bit of a non-bow there between the one way and Dizzy, who doesn't spot anything, but it's just so BCJ knows that there's going to be a flood here through that. That gives orb control over to the Gecko, which is obviously a pretty scary prospect here. With those thrashers coming out as frequent as they are, it's going to get much harder to play their post plant as the attackers. These lines are being held, but great fault line again. That's going to force Koala Noob off that. Also, BCJ has to back up.
Oh no, but a slow move forward. Still having some information with BCJ throwing out.
So much info.
Yeah, even then, so much util also expended down towards A, so they can push this all they want. Then again, the only thing they have left to really utilize is the side of Nismo. So Nismo, pretty good set down on the side of B.
Remember, all that Gecko util can be removed. They bought so much time here. Fault line going to come in, or rather Rolling Thunder. Nitro takes a short peek there, but doesn't really have the weaponry for the long angle down into market and moves. Is able to find 2 through to Cyber Cage. Here's the Nightfall now. Paint Shell comes flying in over, but Nismo just tucked here in this off angle. They're not expecting him to play this far up on the site. Jerk at least can get the spike here. And yes, he knows approximately where Nismo is, but it doesn't mean you're going to win the challenge against this man. 4 from Nismo. What a response. Initiators with 4Ks in back-to-back rounds on M80. They're back in the saddle.
It's not only that, they farmed 2 ultimates, 2 very, very big ultimates. It had such a large range, they could have possibly saved that for the next round, but they wanted the information leading up into sight. They didn't even let it fully lead itself outward, and they didn't clear their corners. They didn't have a flash moving out. They relied solely on that information. So now you have Winthrop University, 2 ultimates down. They can't have that. They can't reload that. I mean, the only other area of effect that they could have is possibly Infiltrator, but still not even close. M80 pretty much just set themselves up for success for this round and possibly the next.
Once again, Dizzy gives the info, but Infiltrator played ahead of the one way this time. It's a variation for Winthrop as opposed to last round, and now Nismo's going to be under pressure. Bomb Buddy doesn't spot him out, and Nasi just walks into it. A little bit of an error there now. It's going to give Nismo some step. I like to use some molly to create the space to get still able to win the fight out despite being paranoid. That is ridiculous. And Winthrop already have had their wings clipped early in this round. They're going to have to push.
Like that.
With these weapons, they've not been able to derive any sort of advantage. There's a thrash up here, and M80 aren't even playing for retake anymore.
Yeah, they have no win condition. They've lost their 3. Infiltrator. I mean, honestly, good for 1, though a crosshold that could just devour Winthrop in seconds.
The wingman's down.
Yeah. And now here, even then, they know 45 seconds left. They have to push the site. Even then, they go. BCJ still stuck down back corner. But beautiful shots coming through from Nismo.
I guess what Winthrop don't know is that M80 have been stacking that A site with 3 players for the last 2 rounds. They have been gambling that and letting Cypher sort of, anchor, rather Nitro just anchor B slowly. I like this moment from Infiltrator, right? Push ahead of the one way instead of just lingering behind it and getting triple spotted by Dizzy, a minute into the round. But man, they got no way to clear this side. They had no pressure on A-Link either.
I feel like there is a lot of lack of pressure, especially on the side of Winthrop. Like, even despite using so much util, I feel like there isn't much that they really take into account there, but maybe this might be the change that they need. Nasi, so much to do. So little time. There comes Pop Flash out. Koala Noob finding at least the first.
Good round for the Outlaw, just quietly. Winthrop forced into this one, and again, it's another aggressive pop from M80. Either on A or B. They have these little timing windows so they can try and catch it. Winthrop staggered, and so they're hot-footing it over towards the A site here, and this is the lightly held site, the non-gamble, with the retake set up for Nitro.
Rushing down towards backside, so they're taking the control of the extremities as well. They're already surrounding themselves down towards the back. Nobody knows Nasi's there. This might be huge, but they're still expecting it. BCJ with a nice trade-off, so even then they don't lose too much. And it's relaxing. They have the ultimate to utilize. They take the first, the second not there, but Gucci still having 7 health left. Even then, regardless, I mean, the chances of winning this aren't too high. Dark cover loading up. But how much is that going to do in a 1v2 situation?
Nitro and Ismanoe came down
30 seconds
from
left.
A-Link.
Cover going out.
They opt not to split up here, so they'll obviously just gamble their way over towards A-Link. Really comes down to timing. I mean, Gucci doesn't really have enough time to get across the map, and yeah, there's the neural theft. So this is very much revealed. Trapwire will confirm. Gucci now going to try and go for the plan. Actually gets off of it because there's a molly lineup, of course, from A-Link from Nismo, who gets yet another round-ending kill to put M80 ahead by 4.
Yeah, interesting. They were more interested there to just see if they were rotating over towards the A side, but the pop flash to start things off was just beautiful. I mean, quite honestly, on the side of M80, they know what they're doing, and they know when they need to start pushing out to really make this team sweat, and that's the best part. Now Winthrop having to kind of rekindle the synergy that they had before. Unfortunately, it seems like they are suffering 5-1 Uber.
Got nothing to work with here.
Yeah.
I think they might try and take mid-control off the Fade Lear and get up close with these stingers, but I don't know how easily Koala Noob is going to be looking to give this up. There's a smoke, sees the shoulder peak, but no connection. Winthrop can scale into mid now.
Force the first.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Well, I wonder where they are.
Honestly, I would feel FOMO seeing so many people down in mid and not being invited. I'm like, that would make me feel pretty bad.
Okay, nice. I like the satchel play here by Infiltrator, but they don't really know what's around that corner. There's nothing else to set the raise up. Now M80 can solidify this presence in mid. They've got market presence as well from Xander. Koala Noob's also going to be there. And it's ugly. Xander swings out of market. And he'll have his fill. It's all up to Jerk in the 1v4 and just forget about it. It's a 5-round buffer for M80.
Yeah, honestly, the initial start to that was just the information being given out by Nismo. Already catching out 4 players down in mid. You basically gave Winthrop no chance in the save round to even try to get a pick or maybe even try to get a weapon, but a timeout well needed. I mean, it's been hard. Winthrop, like, literally getting shut down every single angle, and now an op kind of just being added into the equation. It just does not look good.
And they might be discussing how to make use here of this showstopper. Infiltrator has been barely there so far this map. Not able to do much opening up these kills. I think when he does find one, it's traded out instantly. There was that one round, right, where he's like aggressively pushing up in A main and gets ahead of the one way and just catches a timing when Nismo isn't really prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you double satchel, try and make a showstopper play into elbow, open things up from there. But again, Winthrop lose a lot of players on the early defensive pops from M80 on that A side, right? And BCJ just like has omniscience virtually from throwing up the Dizzy off cooldown on that site every single time.
They honestly have the double initiator that they did kind of file for with BCJ and Nismo taking on 2 different initiators than obviously Nasi and Moobs. I feel like Winthrop just are going for a more heavy aggressive play for the duelist's sake of trying to lock down these players, of trying to center them out and maybe possibly allowing that pick to come forth. But I mean, you're getting suppressed every single angle. Yeah, it honestly is quite difficult to try to do anything about it. I think Infiltrator's good here with a possibility of utilizing that ultimate.
such a big shoulder pick, Gompers. I mean, you just saw everything.
Yeah.
If you're Xander. And that's just drawn the two top mid players from M80 now into position.
Yeah, they can push all they want, though. I mean, of course, again, huge clear that they could have, but just utilizing. I mean, they're ultimate there on the race, but it seems like not. Slowly moving back. Yeah. Who would win?
5 players on a full buy, or one smoky boy. We just found out. A lot of time being bought here for M80 now. Remember, a lot of that util is very much to hand. Xander even has his paranoia.
Camera taken out.
So little time, too.
Yeah, 44 seconds. They have no choice. I mean, Winthrop, despite this double initiator setup, have not been able to gain nearly enough information about where M80 are. They've only seen Xander. That is it. They're going to make a gamble here to the B side. Satchel comes in. Showstopper behind it. Infiltrator, though, gets turned off. Oh, he gets suppressed midway through the ultimate. Nismo gets brought down, but he can be brought into the fray once more. And Winthrop now trying to make a last-second rotation, or maybe just play through mid and try and punch into market. No, it's over towards the A side. But they've managed now with this break in play to get Nismo back on his feet. Jerk needs to know what the setup's looking like defensively. He'll catch Nismo coming out of market who didn't have any armor to work with. Wingman goes by Jerk. 2 ships in the night. But at BCJ is just that little bit better. Spike didn't go down. That's devastating. Nasi is caught out in the open with no way to gain an edge.
It's the game sense. It genuinely is. M80 knowing, hey, we need to push this before the plant goes down. 30, kind of giving themselves the lead. And honestly, all starts with Koala, right? The showstopper moving out just to completely shut down the entry down on that choke point was absolutely huge. I mean, despite obviously that rotation coming back over towards the side of A, but regardless, it's just a continuous shutdown that's coming through from Winthrop. The mental is just, I would be devastated.
Yeah, that's the kind of round where you feel like it doesn't matter what you do.
Yep.
You know, Winthrop really tried to be, they were very careful, maybe too careful, right? They just didn't really get any idea of how the defenders were set up. M80 was actually able to stack the A side and leave Xander anchoring at B and have him buy them more than enough time. Smoke top mid here, we might just see the push through it. I'd like to see a little bit of pace here. BCJ will be forced off that angle. Following up with a flash. Dizzy, though, gets involved. Infiltrator has an itchy trigger finger, apparently. But look at this time by. This gets Koalanu back in position now with his Outlaw.
And I think here, Nismo, the position they took is dangerous.
God.
Everyone from Winthrop pushing up so far, but not having any sort of remedy for a possible lurk. Yeah, slowly moving up, but I think Nismo has a pretty good shot here, especially with Nitro as that distraction firsthand, maybe the first pick as well.
Yeah, maybe with one, really. Oh, my, okay, take 2. Very happy with that for Nitro. Nismo here is on this wrap. He's not going to see any action, but getting to backstab the breach from A-Link could be devastating. Koala Noob here in a very tight angle. Will eventually get swung there. Nasi able to trade. Rolling Thunder available, no chance to use it, and no one is just behind them once from Winthrop in this round. And so eventually, the careful planning of Nismo pays off.
All right. They, I'm not sure how Nitro just suddenly ran away with 2 down in holes, but then again, just aim diff, I guess. That is crazy. And Nismo with the lurk as well, kind of just applying that pressure to sandwich this team in. Really was a no-show.
You know what that was that just flew by your ear, Gompers? That was Gizzards from the Gladiatorial Arena. They're flying. This is pod racing. This is a very clean Valorant here from M80. They are very, very scary, and they're not doing this like complex thing of like getting off the side and trying to like put together this really elaborate retake plan. They are, they're more than happy to anchor against this breach, and they've been devastating so far. Winthrop, they're forcing it. They've managed to get themselves a full buy here at the very least.
Yeah, of course, there are tons of util watching the flank, so they are 100% going to push this site. It's just a matter of when. I mean, of course, Nitro left alone, but they have so much util to show for it. Regardless of that, still having the Rolling Thunder available. So Nitro there with the information, doesn't have to do anything about it, and only clearing out an angle to push themselves onto site.
They got him into market at the very least, but Nitro was not inside that Rolling Thunder, and it's all too easy. Hiking heads off shoulders are here in Nismo. And moves the last one standing now. A grim scene as the smoke clears, as M80 wipe the floor with Winthrop again.
It's every ult they expend, and it's such an interesting choice to clear out only like 10% of sight. Realistically, that didn't even really hit down towards market. So they were just hoping for the best when Infiltrator pushed that through. And then an ultimate gone. I mean, Moobs could really push for that, but the only thing that gives it that value for the Nightfall is the Tether is finding that information as to where these players are. So, I mean, if that's what they're going for, maybe the default might work. I do feel like we've been going way too aggressive, way too fast on occasion from Winthrop. They haven't been allowed the chance to leer this team out.
And the defaults have been fine, just slow, and they've been put off the site by nothing but a smoke. That's an interesting little engagement there. Isma actually swings around. Maybe expects Winthrop to be playing a little bit more light-handed at A. A lot of A-Link presence, though, here for M80. That flash, though, means that a gun can be recovered, and Ismo is handed over.
Yeah, they've lost out on Moobs. And lack of information on A kind of leads that rotation over towards mid for M80. This is good. I mean, space could be taken up from Winthrop. But again, the only difference is you have initiators that can't really gather information other than Moobs, and he's gone.
M80 don't know anything about Elbow right now. They've obviously mostly given up that site because they have 2 initiators to play off. And losing Xander in that position earlier has given them pause for thought. So Winthrop can take this space for free while M80 kind of had to re-clear pretty methodically here.
Oh, Nismo has it. Oh my god. And they line up. They just give it to him. They absolutely cannot keep getting away with this. M80, how? It's the lineup that comes through from Winthrop, and Jerk left alone over towards B. Not really trying to assist with maybe even gaining a little bit more information towards mid-side, or if the rotation is being let out, so you're kind of left alone. 45 health and 13 seconds left. Yeah, no way you're getting towards Spike in that
10
time.
10 seconds left.
And what we saw from Winthrop was just a raw contact out of holes. Just hoping that someone is holding that angle and they can overwhelm them with 2 players. Double swing, but there's no like wide swing from any of those other Winthrop players, right? They, like you said, they lined up pretty perfectly, and that's happened a couple of times now. It's also happened every time Nitro's been anchoring the B site and they try and push out of lobby. So, you know,
I need this.
moments like that is like, we talked about this in the pre-show conference. We said,
yeah,
M80's going to punish you for this stuff. If it's not squeaky clean and there are holes in your game plan, they're going to get exploited.
I think another thing too is just the agent composition pick in comparison to Winthrop. You have Nasi on the breach, you have Moobs on that fade, but how much intel are you really getting? Nismo finding out 4 in mid, BCJ finding out, you know, whether or not there might be someone hiding in corners just with the flash alone. It's this information that they can just get so easily on the side of M80. I mean, even then, A site, they know nobody might be there. The one-way still set down Koala Noob, not finding anybody, but then again, redirecting their attention down towards mid.
This has been the better look for Winthrop, though. Rounds where they can smoke top mid, leer into mid, make sure they have, you know, peace of mind in scaling up into this part of the map. And then pinching in a market as opposed to having to use a rolling thunder to gain access to this part of the map. I don't know what to say about that one. I mean, you can't be letting that happen. Xander just holds the angle and Infiltrator walks straight into the crosshair. All the info Nitro could ever ask for as the trapwire yields in the position of his enemies. It's just nasty now. Wow. And he's out of here too.
Honestly, that was just an ego stance from Xander. I'm going to be honest with you.
Switching sides.
I would have... In the moment I hear any type of showstopper, I'm sorry, I would not be picking that fight. But again, it's just the confidence. And you can kind of see that exuding from M80. The power stance from Xander. Nitro literally just sprang through smoke and peeking out with no blind. These are not things that M80 does when they feel threatened. And that's just the unfortunate line of events that have been happening. 11-1, they're almost pretty much down to that match point. They just feel comfortable.
And again, like, Winthrop don't have a sky comp, and they're not using paint shells to clear out this Cypher util.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like, especially the way you can set trap wires up on the B side, you're going to walk into them. And that's a free kill for Nitro. Like, he will not let you get away from that one. 11-1 half. About the most one-sided half we've seen so far in Challengers. And that is saying a fair bit. We've had some mare games in the past here as Winthrop, once more, fancy taking control of mid. What are you doing here?
Seems like they're going down B. Is it going to work out? Possibly so. M80 already spraying through smoke, getting more than one. should not be allowed. And now Xander's still stuck, hiding behind their own. A pop flash to move out. Yeah, right click doesn't work out, but you still have the majority of Team Winthrop, though, trying to find themselves that win condition. You have majority of players here. Moves not utilizing the util. The shot's missing out as well. And that's that 3K that really lays down to BCJ. It's unfortunate. Winthrop, they're trying so hard to really grasp at straws. There isn't enough to do.
Wingman going to check this, and there'll be a confirmation. A jerk is off the spike here. M80 always playing in twos. Always. Especially over that A side on their defense side. This one is all done for the crying, basically. Yikes. What is this game? This is brutal.
Match point. It's the warm-up. It's the warm-up. That's it. They take it back next game.
For who?
Don't say that.
Like, what's the main event? Like, what? You know what I mean? Because so far, like, the curtain came up and then it came straight back down. You know, it's not exactly the matinee I paid for.
I paid so much money to be here.
I didn't pay anything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, me either.
In fact, I'm actually the other way around.
Negative, yeah. Oh. I see what you mean. Honestly, Profit might be there for M80 as well. Oh, no, actually not. I'm seeing here Winthrop, yep, push out coming through from the fault line, and it was a prep that Nasi had been waiting for, so they heard the noise and they acted on it, which I like. They backed themselves off. They didn't get too greedy with it.
Something that worked well for M80, these early defensive pops where you don't commit too heavily, where you make sure it's behind a nice flash. And now there's an opening you can think to exploit.
Yep. Oh, this is beautiful too. If they make any noise moving out towards B, not only do you have Nasi waiting for the flash, but an infiltrator waiting for the paint shell as well. Maybe even just a peek to come through with Jerk. Alongside watching some sort of cross somehow. You don't need the view and the peak, the ego peeking from Winthrop to put themselves in an unfortunate position. Now left up to two players to take down a 2v4 under match point.
Molly here from Nismo. They had Nitro embedded up mid on the attacking side, either to take contact from top of mid or help crunch onto market. So now, like, Winthrop's avenues of approach here are basically cut off. Nitro having his crosshair placement broken.
Cover going
will
on.
eventually fall there. Koala Noob, though, still having to get involved, and it's down to Gucci. And right now, for Winthrop, it is anything but. Spotted coming out of that dark cover, and eventually Xander will bring him to heel. 13-1. Not really a game so much as an extinction event here. As M80 start off on the front foot.
An extinction event is crazy. I think I'm not gonna say whether or not I would say yes, I agree, but it definitely was not a good game under the circumstances that Winthrop had gone through. And again, I think a large majority of that is just to be completely blunt with you, the breach wasn't doing as much as I thought it would. It genuinely was not applying the pressure that it should have when they were on the attacking side. They were getting demolished by the honestly the KO util alone. The information coming out so early down on the rounds, and they just had no way of pushing themselves onto site, which is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, like I liked that Nasi was able to fault line towards A and force Nismo off of that angle. You know, like that aggressive angle he was posting on. He has to reflash to get himself there and actually got him killed once. So that is good. Once you like claim that space with that util, it's like how you sort of scale in behind that, which was where we saw things fall off, you know, a lot, I think, for Winthrop trying to get onto that A side. Like, they're trying to hit A with only 2 players left. You know, I mean, they lose so many in the early exchanges. There's a lot to talk about here, of course. That map, and of course, there's still another one to come here. Lotus is up on the docket next, one that looks pretty darn good in general for M80, so stick around. More from this first series of your day as M80 have an extremely strong start over Winthrop.
I mean, Icy's up there. Like, he always ranks pretty high. Verno, if he probably played more, I don't think he does play that much, though. Ranked. I see him every now and then, but... oh, Redux, probably. Redux is probably #1 ranked team. That guy drops 30 every time. He's so good at the game, actually. Like, he's so good.
I will say, when I do queue, someone that is always on is like Oxy. He plays a lot. He fries ranked, or even like Zekin, too. So, one of those.
Out of all the challenge, I haven't played against many challenger players in ranked, I feel like, but from what I've seen on like leaderboard and all that stuff, like I think Verno's doing pretty well. I think Redux is always pretty good as well. Not too many I see that I play against in the mornings, at least. I think they're all like nighttime players.
I'd say one of the biggest ranked demons is probably Poppin or Oxy. Both those players have been very annoying to play against in ranked. Oxy just like his raw skill and mechanics are insane, and Poppin's Yoru, or just like Yoru plus like Duelist, is very annoying to play against.
Zekin has been outstanding in ranked and in matches. I'd say Zekin, and in challenges, I think I've seen like Redux been like pretty unstoppable when he plays. So I would say Redux or Zekin.
I'm gonna have to go with. I mean, there's like 3 guys that come to mind, but obviously Zekin's not in Challengers, so I'm gonna have to do like an honorable mention of Zekin. Icy's also been grinding the ranked, and he's doing really well right now. He's in the top 5, and Redux. I always see Redux up there as well, so I'm gonna have to go with those 3.
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I guess Oxy. I don't know, cause I guess Oxy be playing ranked like all the time.
Peace.